everyone, welcome back to our channel, Sugar, Spice, and Everything Chaos. So, today's episode, we're going to do something different. We're going to get into a story, a real life story of a real woman. And do you want to introduce Pankajam to our listeners?
Yeah, so to give you a context, I recently picked up this book in February from the feminist column about this book called A Woman of No Consequence. So that book kind of intrigued me because it titled as a woman who had no consequence in life. And why would a book be written about a woman who didn't do anything? So that's how the introduction starts. It's written by her granddaughter, Kalpana Karunakaran. And I think it is a story which is very much important to talk about, especially in the theme that we are talking in the season, which is politics of the female psyche and the feminism and the intersectionality and all of that. So I think that is why I wanted to talk about this woman called Pankajam. So yeah, that's the
So,
background.
who is this lady? Who is this lady, Pankajam?
Okay, so Pankajam is a woman from Madras from the 1900s. So she belongs to a Brahmin family. So you see how there are restrictions that revolves around a Brahmin family, especially for a woman. And you see Pankajam growing up in a household where she witnesses three generation of women. So she sees her mother, then she sees herself and her daughter. So you will see her mother was a very rebellious woman in her own way because she wanted to have education. She wanted to go to college because her father expected her to be a great person. But then her father died at a young age, which is Pankajam's mother's father, which is her grandfather, died at a very young age. So Subbalakshmi, which is her mother, did not have a chance to go to college. So that shattered dream stayed with her and she became a rebel in her own way by not taking part in childcare, rearing, or societal rituals and things like that that is expected of a Brahmin woman at that time. So growing up, Pankajam did not have an ideal mother to take care of her. So how did this Pankajam grow up? So she has such a zest for life, for nature, for sports, for education, for books, because she felt that she was very lonely in her household. And growing up, she needed something where she can look up to, where she can feel, where she belonged. And books and education and learning and nature is where she felt much belonged. But then you see that her dreams of becoming someone gets shattered when her father and grandfather kind of stops her education and she is tied to a married life. And after that, you see her how she adapts to the marriage life, adapts to the societal values and the Tamil Brahmin culture and the Tamil Brahmin expectations, and how she fights in her own way to uphold her equality for her rights. And you see that that has been transferred to her daughter's life as well. So I think it's a lot to talk about, but to give you an idea, you will see how three generation of women in 1900s fought feminism and how certain castes and things also come into picture when we discuss feminism. So yeah, does that give you an idea of how this woman is?
So, as you were sharing this, what I realized was nothing much has changed in the recent past. If you look at the story of Pankajam's mother being this child who was refused freedom and the autonomy to kind of go out and venture and study, that kind of frustration got translated in her practice of motherhood. So you see that even today, where a lot of mothers are not really happy about motherhood because of the fact that it was not really their choice. And how this affects the children is, you expect the mother to be a certain way, and that's not happening. So you kind of think, okay, so now I'm going to find a husband and I'm going to do a better job at this thing. But then again, they get trapped into this system where the husband is not supportive, and then you finally realize, oh, mama didn't have a choice. If
Mhm.
papa was like better, because as a kid, I think like you look at mama as the problem, papa is like the good guy, because
Mhm.
you see this sort of dynamic where the father is really nice to the daughter because he looks at the daughter as his, but the wife as someone who comes from a different family. So it's very interesting. Like that theme has stayed true even today. So tell us more about Pankajam.
So yeah, like you said, the father figure that is there for Pankajam's daughter is completely different from how he is with as a husband, you know. So you will see
Hmm.
Pankajam because she is stopped from her education because they believed at that time women, if they are educated, they will not get a boy, which I think has not much changed even now. But then, so because of that, they stop her education. They don't like women who are opinionated, who are, you know, has opinions and ideas and who has knowledge, because those women do not fit into a household as a housewife framework. So she, for the first time, you will see her story about Ponnu Pakra ceremony, you know, the first time that a guy comes to see her. So she has so much expectations and also excited and nervous at the same time. So she, all her idea of how a man is going to be for the your as your partner comes from the idea of books through her. So it's very cute. You can actually relate to her because all of us as young women, we dreamt and fantasized about how we are going to be married and how the guy is going to be a prince charming and all of that. And because her interest was so much into books, she thought she will also find a man where they share their interest, so that all their life they can share their interest and grow in that way. But as soon as she gets married, she realizes the whole aspect of the marriage in itself changed. It was like completely shattered. But even in that time, as a young girl, about 14 or 15, she understood, I can still change this man. I can still make this man a better. Because he married her for money, because he comes from a different caste and she belongs to a Brahmin family, and that mattered at that time in terms of status and money and all of that. And she realizes that when he married her for money and status, she felt sorry for him. Because, I mean, it makes sense that she felt sorry for him. But at that time, she thought, okay, if I introduce books to him, if I introduce him a world of which he has never seen, his mind and his whole perspective about the world is going to change. But soon she realizes that it was all a waste, because he just considers her, zest for life and knowledge as a hobby, and he sidelines her. He never gave her love. He never shared her appreciation for beauty in nature. You will see a scene where she'll be appreciating the moon sitting on a beach, and then she'll be admiring the beauty and, you know, reciting a poem. And you will see he will look at her like she's crazy, you know, because, and at that time when she was expecting her man to adore her for the way she looks at the world, when she's been judged like that, she feels like, okay, this is it, this is my life, you know. And this is very saddening, isn't it? Right now, even now, what do you think? Is there anything changed from that woman that was in 1900s looking for
You
a
know,
prince charming?
I was just like thinking about this whole narrative of when you meet a broken man, and then instead of thinking, oh, he's broken, I should stay away. Because I think this is how men think, you know, when men find a woman who's like not very stable, or she's not very regulated in terms of her emotions, a lot of men will back away. They'll not be like, oh, I'm gonna go fix her. I'm gonna, like, you know, show her what true love is. Like, you see this sort of narrative in Beauty and the Beast, right? Can you like gender reverse and say that if a woman was a beast, would a pretty, a handsome, wealthy man stay with her and change her into a beauty, see the beauty within? I don't think so. So why is this narrative that, you know, like, when you find a broken man, you need to sit with him, pour all your love into him, and change him? Still here. Like, why do we still train young girls saying, yeah, he might be that way, but you know, once you get married, you can change the man? And I think, you know, to a certain degree, it's a very subconscious sort of thing where women, in general, were more emotional and stuff. So there is a sort of like, I think, psychological achievement sort of a thing that we feel when we are able to change a man. Like, oh, he used to drink, but like after me he stopped drinking. But why is that like an achievement? But what
I
you
don't know.
usually see
I'm
is
just thinking out of the picture, like, you know, this
uh,
whole aspect of changing a man. I think we women, this emotional aspect comes very easy for us, regulating or thinking about emotions, and all of this comes very natural for us. I think we look at men as power, that they don't have that quality altogether. So I think we are sympathizing with them.
But wouldn't it be better if, we didn't feel sorry, but we kind of shame them because that's what they do to us, right? Like, and yeah, like, there's a lot of thing where, like, are you even a woman? Like, oh, don't like this is like a, funny sort of a thing that they say. I don't even look at you as a woman between friends. Right.
Yeah.
So why can't we do that to like men, where we say, I don't even consider you a man, you're just a boy. Like, why do we always have to be so, like, kind to these men who are broken? But I think, like, maybe one thing that just struck me is because, like, men can, like, potentially kill us because they are known to be violent. So maybe this is like a survival instinct where we are trained to fawn, people pleasing and all that, where we
So
are
you're
as much.
saying we are taming them.
I'm not saying we're taming them. See, they're not, like, oh, it's not romantic. Don't make it romantic. What I'm saying is,
How is that
you
romantic?
know,
It's like taming a wild animal,
but like
domesticating it.
see, again, like, I think men want to be seen as like the wild animal, the piranha, whatever it is. So yeah, like, they would look at it as a compliment, unfortunately. So I think the way that we need to look at it is a little different. I think as much as we are attracted to them, we also understand that men are highly capable of also killing us. So, how do you
Hmm.
kind of negotiate here, where you have certain needs that you can get from a man, right? They're attractive. So, that's like a need that you have, where it's romantic, sexual, all that. So, you need a man. But then at the same time, men are like, very emotionally volatile. So instead of, like, giving them like a piece of your mind, you have to be like, there, let me explain it to you. Okay, what happened? What are we feeling here today?
The
And
wheel
then,
of emotions. Tell me, what do you feel?
are you feeling sad, excited, or elated?
No, you are. You told us we should not roast
Right?
them in this episode.
It's very hard not to. So, so I feel
Okay,
like,
so
yeah.
I have to make a point about Pankajam's life in this scenario where you told that, men have a capacity to
Yeah.
kill. So which is the main part that was extremely dark and extremely disappointing. So what happens is, as this woman who has so much knowledge about geology, geography, history, civics, politics, English, literature, and whatnot, puts all of her interests aside, which is our Pankajam, puts all of her interests aside and buys a book to lure a man, to seduce a man. So she reads this book and she thinks that, okay, if I dress up a certain way, if I talk to him a certain way, he'll be attracted to me, right? So this Pankajam, you see that she sees her husband who's not attracted to her, and he's not very comfortable around her. They are not having intercourse and things like that. And so she decides to lure him using this book because all she knows is books, right? So you see her trying so much, and you will find her. So an incident happens after this. So what happens is, despite of her trying so much, he does not talk to her, does not even look at her face every day. And she grows very lonely day by day. She finds her husband cheating with her maid, and that shooks her world. And when she learns and she confronts her husband, he brutally hits her. So she, at that time, she is having a small kid of 1 year old, and she leaves the child in the front house because she does not want her child to be, affected. So she goes up, she stands like a rock while he hits her badly, right? And this comes back to that question of how men have a capacity to exploit or even kill a human being because of the kind of power that has been given through patriarchy, through the patriarchy. So I think they do have the capacity. And if you see this thing after that, whenever he does not have access to the maid who he is cheating with, he would rape her without her consent. And even she ends up having 5 children, and that every 2 years, it says that in the book, every 2 years he rapes her so that she is still tied to the married life and the housewife life. and she never gets to do what she wants, whether her hobbies or interest or even her participation as political independence. At that time she was very active in that. Her husband did not want to participate in that. So you see how marital rape at that time is still is relevant today, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think like you know the recent thing with the rape academy and uh, the online incel manosphere community kind of confirms this, where I don't know why this is something that is still so relevant today for men. But most of the male conversations are around how many girls they can get. They almost look at girls as like a way to get self-esteem. So instead of looking at women as humans who they can have intimacy with, who they can actually be happy with, somehow we've replaced aggression and like destruction with intimacy. I mean, like in the place of intimacy, we have destruction instead. So I honestly don't know. This is just like a very sad thing. I am reminded of so many stories that I know from people who shared their distressing life with me. It's so sad. It's very casual, like this whole thing of like pro life and uh, pro women. Like so, you have these conversations around abortion and things, and then people would kind of say a fetus is still alive. I agree, a fetus is still alive, but a woman's life is also still alive, right? So when you are violating a woman under the guise that you are legally married to her, uh, isn't that a criminal offense? I was discussing this sort of thing in the Indian, civil system, where you see that when men and women are in marriage together, and let's say the man is cheating on the woman, right? Apparently, it's not a criminal offense. You can get a divorce based on it. You can, ask for compensation or something because there is mental abuse and things, but it's not a criminal offense, so the man will not be punished for it. And so if you are like a powerful rich man, right, you just have to be, you'll be dragged. Yes, some people can ruin your name, but it's sort of like badge of honor where you're like, I'm a real man, I just pulled two girls in. You see this with celebrity culture, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to name names, but we know people who are in power today who are very openly having extramarital affairs, and there is no consequence for these men, right? And it's a whole joke where we are normalizing it by saying like we were calling them annen nanni and all that. I don't know how it sits well with the citizens of Tamil Nadu, but you see that this is the culture that we're in, where there is no sense of morality when it comes to the crimes we do against women. We see it as a right, as a male birthright to abuse and hurt women.
The thing is, you see the difference in the way that Pankajam handles her life, right? But as much as all of this right now sounds very disappointing and sounds very, hopeless, and I think
Hopeless. Yeah.
the way we see Pankajam handling her life, because she realized one thing that many women right now don't realize it and don't use it properly, which is her power over parenting, her power that she has over the house and her children. Because you see how a housewife has control over the house as much as she can, and the kind of molding that she can do for the children is in her hands completely, 100%. And she understood it very early, and she said, okay, this is how I'm going to uphold my rights, and this is how I'm going to bring about a generation who is not like me, who is not have to go through marital rape or oppression or all these abuse at home, right? So what she does is, so she has two daughters. One daughter, I don't know her name. The second daughter is Maithili. Okay, the first daughter becomes a well-renowned dancer, and she gets an opportunity to go to the Europe to join a proper dance band or team. So at that time, she her a good maplay, the husband proposal comes, and then she reflects how she made the wrong decision of not letting her daughter pursue her dance career, and she tied her to the marriage life. But in the second daughter, you see that she sends her to the US, and she becomes an activist and a journalist, and she studies till PhD, and she lives her life without restriction. And she also has three other sons who she raised to be much more open minded, much more accommodative, much more well read and well behaved and morally upright citizens. So I think what she understood was, okay, I am being raped and I am being oppressed and I am being abused, but I will not do what my mother could not do. Her mother could not give her that protection or that liberty that her mother didn't have. So Subbalakshmi, you see that she could not have education. So that frustration she passed on to Pankajam, and she was not available as a mother to Pankajam. But Pankajam, on the other
Yeah.
hand, understood that she cannot refute these frustration or like refute these societal norms through showing frustration, but rather she can take it under in her control and create a generation who is not like her. And eventually you see the children become a major support for her to receive that, freedom from her oppression and abuse. So she, in her late 70s, after her husband passes away, she goes and visits all her children who are in Australia and US and Canada. She goes on her own and explores the world. She even goes to meet one of her friends in Singapore, and she goes and attends this activist meeting. So she's politically involved, right, in all of these freedom movements and things like that. So she loves knowing and writing letters and being having this communication with people from all around the world. And you see how she evolves as a woman, as a human, just through her zest for life. She just had that hope that she will get out of it, and she never stopped learning. She never gave up her quest for learning. She never gave up her books. She continued to learn. And you will see certain things that has been told. She tends to know more than her children. Her children are like PhDs and masters at that time. And they used to ask her, they used to quiz her with random things about geology or geography or history. And she would know everything. And they would be so puzzled to know that she knows everything. And even then, she will humble herself and say that, I don't have an education. I just have read about these things. And this is the kind of woman we fail to see in our households. These generational trauma is so common these days that it's very easy for us to say, I didn't get it, so you should also not get it. I was restricted, so you should also get as restricted. I didn't get to go around travel the world, so you also can't travel the world, right? And I don't know, mothers have this concept of protection behind it, but is it really protecting your daughters, or is it just doing the same thing that what has been done to you?
I think like a lot of mothers have this thing where as much as they don't like their life, they still think they are very privileged. Yeah, my husband beats me, but then at least my husband didn't kill me. They look at the how the grass is greener sort of a thing, which is very puzzling because like no, don't sugarcoat it because the more you kind of delude yourself into thinking that your life is good, right? The more dishonest you are with yourself about your feelings, the more disconnected you are from someone else's suffering and misery. I think this is one thing I believe in. You need to first acknowledge and become aware of your pain to be able to acknowledge and accommodate someone else's pain. So like for instance, if I have like something that I'm depressed about, like let's say I don't really like my job or something, and I am frustrated with it. If I'm dealing with my frustration, like I'm saying, I'm complaining about it, I'm applying to other places, I'm feeling that pressure, like where I don't like it, I need to do something about it. Then when I see someone else telling me that they don't like their job, right, I can be very empathetic towards them because it's easy because I know the feeling. I sat with that feeling. But when I did not sit with that feeling, I think it's very difficult for me to accommodate the fact that like, oh, you're feeling sad. So let's say I had the same thing, but then I did not sit with my feelings. Your suffering is going to sound like whining to me. Like, yeah, I had a bad job too, but I did it. So you also do it. Instead of like, showing that compassion, what I show is like more cruelty. I think I would call it cruelty because at that point it's not even coming from a place of like it's different to say if you don't like your job, quit it and then see what else is there. That's still compassion to me. But when you're saying no, this is how it will be, so you suffer, you are supposed to suffer for the rest of your life. I think a lot of girls and boys, for that matter, have this sort of destiny mapped out for us, where we are told that life is basically suffering. You can only enjoy after you're retired.
Mm.
And I think as young people, we need to question that. Who are these people who are selling such lies to us? And why are we so easily believing them? There are so many young people today who are, having corporate jobs, who are very extremely unhappy in their workplaces. But the thing is, the our parents and our grandparents' generation, they saw the private industry as like a magical industry. If you enter corporate, you're sorted for life, sort of a thing. So now, for us young people to listen to that, right, it's such pressure, because I know a lot of young people who are thinking to themselves, is something wrong with me? Why am I not strong enough to survive the corporate culture? Right? So I think it's important for us to be honest, and even if nobody is empathizing with us, we can start by basically acknowledging the fact that there is pain, and because the pain is there, it is real. It's as simple as that. You can just validate yourself if you don't find any validation outside, because I think that's the only way we can move ahead. I think Pankajam did that exactly. I'm very impressed with her, because that's like such a highly emotionally intelligent thing to do, right? You still don't find young women today who are able to do that, because a lot of times what we do to ourselves is gaslight ourselves. We tell ourselves, oh, something's wrong with me, I must be weak, everybody is doing it. People are like cooking, cleaning, and doing work, and publishing research, and attending all these other things, and they're also not taking vacations at all, no CL, nothing they're taking, so something's wrong with me. But in reality, do you realize that person is sick because you're sick? So I think, I don't know. I honestly don't know if we can encourage young people to be like Pankajam, because I don't know how Pankajam herself did it. It's a very inspiring story, but how, Pankajam, how did you do it is the question that's running in my head. With
I
no
think
zero support
you will
system.
see, as much as you see different. I'm just trying to reflect on the personality of people, right? So there are
Mm,
people who have a life and they go about life like it is a blueprint, right? They don't question
mm,
it. They don't try to understand how anything out of that blueprint, right? Say, for example, you believe in a feminism, okay, and my
mm,
blueprint does not give me the feminism as a blueprint. So when
mm,
you come to me and talk about feminism, I would completely shut you down because it does not fall into my blueprint, right? And I feel
mm,
many people live life like this because they are so close minded that they don't let another viewpoint or perspective get into their mind at all. But you see Pankajam constantly, because of her quest, that personality trait she had, that she need to know something, she need to expand her mind, because she understood the privilege she had within the community. At the same time, she also understood her, thing as a woman, that she is oppressed as a woman, but she is privileged as a Brahmin. But then that she also had a lot of restrictions. She understood the framework she was in. She reflected on it. She sat on it, and she started engaging herself with community who are above and below her, and with different religions and different people from all over the world, and through different books and different ideas. It is not easy to sit with a different opinion that is very different from you, right? It's very easy for a Brahmin woman to say, okay, I'm privileged, I've been given everything that my husband is providing me, and I will be happy. It's very easy to do that. But to accommodate and get into this political activism, get into this religious conversation, get into this intercultural conversation, that is not easy. So I think many people right now are not doing this at all. They are very comfortable with their blueprint and they just want to sit there within it, and they don't want to open their minds to new ideas at all. They don't want to learn. They don't want to know. Like, I had a recent conversation with I think I must have spoken in the other episode, conversation with a family member. Like, when you bring up a topic that is completely is being new to them, the reaction is they completely shut you down, and not just shut you down, they shame you, right? So what kind of a conversation, how do I sit with them and tell them, okay, this is my problem, this is what is happening, this is a new perspective, why don't you come and discuss with me, right? So I think the way she did, the Pankajam, she did it is through this. She didn't She abandoned her blueprint, and she created her own blueprint that is very accommodative. She could add elements as she grew old and as she had no more experiences growing until the time she died.
That's actually a very nice perspective. So, curiosity can actually take you places that you want to be in. Initially, it might be uncomfortable, where the saying, right? Curiosity killed the cat. But I think the saying finishes with, uh, discovery satisfied it, or something. So I think that's the whole quote. I'm getting it wrong, but it's a nice quote. If I find it, I'll probably add it in the video later when we're editing it. But yeah, so I think this thing of curiosity is something that a lot of people, not just women, let it die, right? I don't know many people who read books. A lot of people, like to pretend they are well read, but because that's like intellectualism is also like an aesthetic right now on social media. But how many of us actually sit and read things that don't really like? If I'm reading a book that where the character is just like me, it's very convenient for me to read it. But if this character is not very similar to me, I judge it. I am not able to sit with it. I don't want to read it. Why would I want to read it, sort of a thing. So I think that's something that we need to think about. Why is it that other people or a different perspective in general so uncomfortable for us to deal with? Why is it that we want everything to be easy? And you see that this is something that's actually being used against us today on social media, where if you look at our algorithm, it's basically an echo chamber. Whatever you believe in is the same thing that kind of comes in your news feed. And you don't get to learn anything new. So if you believe that the earth is flat, right, you will get content that tells you that the earth is flat. It's false information, but the people, right, because they get these contents, they are very convinced that the earth is actually flat. And it makes you wonder, like, if this is going to be the level of intelligence of the future generations, how easy it is going to be to actually manipulate them. And we are also seeing a trend in a reverse, right? So like you said, there are people who are aware of feminism, but there are also people who are spreading misinformation about feminism. There is no conversation about how we want to meet in the middle for humanity's sake, because that's just not the kind of thing that we do. We like rage baiting content. We don't talk about harmony and peace, because harmony and peace, who will talk about it? Such a, are we all Buddha, or it becomes like a spiritual conversation. So we don't want to do that. So I don't know. Like we were also talking about the recent trend with Bumble, right? Bumble is now going into AI, where people don't even have to meet each other, talk to each other, and then break their hearts. But
Their
the AI
algorithm
is
is
going
gonna
to,
talk to each other.
yeah, and then that's all. Like, so even more disconnected from each other we're going to get. It's almost like I don't know. It's the death of the social human life. I see it as a huge threat, not just psychologically but to social order. But yeah, like I don't know, the whole thing with Pankajam, at least with her timeline, right? They didn't have social media, they didn't have algorithms, they didn't have these echo chamber like systems. But with our generation, how do we create a space where we can openly talk about things and still show kindness? Because, like you said, anything that we bring up, even with our loved ones, instead of having that space to even express ourselves, it gets into the place where we are shamed for it. And once the shaming is done, right, there is no going back to the same place, because that's trauma. That's something that's very harsh, and you realize that that person is so insistent on humiliating you rather than you know having you exactly as you are. And more and more we see such spaces, and it really makes me sad that this is the kind of social reality that's being created as we speak.
Hmm. So, from what you've said, one thing actually stood to me. You know how you said about the comfort factor. Why is it difficult for us to, accommodate things which has very different from our views or perspectives, and we are seeking something only comfortable. It reminds us, maybe there's this quote called "Kutramulla Nenju Kurugurkum" sort of a thing. So it's basically like, maybe you don't, it hurts you, or it reminds you of your past trauma or abuse that you have experienced, that you don't want to remember it. But I think it is not about the fact that you have to dump this all inside and try to hide it, and you think that you have sorted it in your own way, that you are not bothered by what has been happened to you by your family, or what has been happened to you as a woman. You think it is not bothering you, but the very fact it's bothering you is because you don't want to talk about it. You don't want reminders of it in your daughters or your other ladies that is there around you. And whenever it reminds you of what has been done to you or what you didn't get, there's an unconscious or a conscious level of frustration and anger, and the things that has been posed on these women. And I think one way that we can learn from Pankajam's story, as much as her story calls itself as women of no consequence, and I think many of us women don't have to be great women as Indira Gandhi or Mother Teresa. We are just all women who live a regular life with regular things. But I think the consequence, even if we don't create anything that is great, the only way that we can go forward is by being a better person ourselves in our own house alone. You don't want to make a huge impact on the world, make an impact on yourself, reflect on yourself, and make an impact on the world. And yeah, so do you have anything to say, add on to that?
I don't think so. I think that's like a very lovely place to stop because yeah, I think that's exactly what we should be doing. Just sit with awareness, sit with the fact that your life is not meant to be like anyone else's. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, and yeah, just deal with it, deal with existence.
And it's not like you don't have power. Like Pankajam realized her power that she had over her children. She used it for the good, and I hope all of us use it for the good as well and realize our potential and the impact that we can make in our own lives. And yeah, we will see you again for another great episode again. And until next time, take care. Bye. And love you all from us to you. Thank
Bye, everyone.